Hey guys, it's Mad Static, and I didn't want to play this game. I beat Persona 5 again, and I really wanted to move on to new and exciting experiences, like PC Building Simulator and Fortnite. But that's the fun thing about Persona 5. Once you choose to play it, it stops being a choice. So Persona 5 Strikers, the smaller scale Musou-focused sequel to the Persona 5 storyline. Now that sounds like a perfectly mediocre spin-off title that big fans might get something out of. But to my surprise, it's a title, Strikers is genuinely fantastic, regardless of being a fan or not. That being said, don't get this game if you're not a fan, because that's the main reason anyone's here, for the fanfare. We just want to see more of the gang, and thankfully, that's the thing this game does best. For those of you who don't know what the game's about, again, why are you here? In the 5th installment of the Persona series, the previous 4 I don't know shit about, you play as Person A. Half the time you're making friends, going to school, things I'm told normal people do, but the other half sees you and your gang of phantom thieves going into bad guys' minds and using folktales / religious icons created through someone's personality to steal the cognitive manifestations of that bad guy's warped desire that serves as the root of basically you make assholes stop being evil. And with the sequel, the gang's back at it again as they take a road trip around all of Japan to stop whoever is using the cognitive world to control the minds of sections of the population, with the additional help of Siri and some hairy old guy. Really simple stuff. Now, there was never any way the spin-off title was going to have the same significance or satisfaction of what's basically a 100-hour-long anime, but I think the game actually uses that inevitability as a chance to nail down some smaller things better than the original, like good times with the gang. The best thing, the characters don't feel like they're here for fan service or just some throwaway filler plot. Everything and everyone feels just as fun to watch as in the original, while also faithfully developed. These guys have grown up a bit and you can really tell. Futaba's goofier, Ryuji's a little less dumb, Morgana's never annoying, and Haru does a lot more existing. The group dynamic generally feels stronger, and the new characters are just as interesting too. Most of the characters here aren't forgettable and genuinely leave an impact. Like that hairy old guy I was talking about, he ain't just no guy. He's Bloodborne, bitch. Same thing towards the antagonists of the game, with just about all of them having more interesting and complex motivations than about half of the original game's villains. Light spoiler as an example, but the third antagonist you run into is literally just better Okumura, in almost every way. Everything's on a smaller scale, but the story and spirit of the original are carried on really well through this game, with a specific strength in individual characters that the other game was too broad and expansive to really focus on. Now, what got me into this game specifically was, again, the story, but what originally got me into Persona 5 in the first place was its style. The visual aesthetic and music of the game were solely responsible for piquing my interest, and when it comes to Strikers, the flair is still there, though in much less capacity. There just isn't as much to see comparatively. Your groups on a road trip and the different locations are nice to run around in, along with the palace replacement jails having their own cool sights, but the jails specifically can become bland pretty fast. The wide open space was a nice change at first, but eventually it's clear that they're mostly city streets and buildings with different color palettes. Though fighting does stay fun to watch, Musous are famous for the gameplay being these awesome and insane looking clusterfucks even when you're not really doing anything, and the distinctive look of Persona 5 makes sure that the fighting doesn't just turn into a mush of explosive effects. And the music's still superb. Lynn is still doing a godly job on the vocals for the new battle themes, and the themes for each new jail are also great. But I think I'm so used to the background music for Shibuya and LeBlanc that hearing new music for the real life locations just hits so much harder. In a good way though. Again, most of this stuff is pretty similar to the original, while being relatively on par in quality despite its quantity. But obviously the gameplay is a different story. For one, the life simulator portion is gone. You can walk around small, contained new areas, talk to NPCs, sometimes hang out with your group, and buy items, but it's more of an expanded hub than an actual portion of the game. No school, friends, or life simulation. So yes, this game does suck ass, but also not really. The second big change is that the game isn't turn-based like the original. It's a Musou. Real-time action combat and shit like combos, with Musou specifically being known for giving you the ability to tear through hundreds of enemies at a time. Straight off the bat, the biggest novelty of the change in gameplay is being able to run around as the rest of the Phantom Thieves. It's a simple pleasure, I know, but it makes me happy. The problem is, well, Musous kinda have a reputation with people. Not specifically of badness, more of underwhelmment. I can't speak on Dynasty Warriors, the franchise most known for this gameplay, but there are a lot of games that throw the format onto some bare bones slicing game and call it a day. It looks cool, but the gameplay usually feels incredibly shallow. So when the One Piece and Berserk game tricked me, it hurt my feelings and I blame the genre. But no, Striker's gameplay is decently good. It's obviously not as good as Persona 5's mechanics. It takes a little while for any depth to actually surface, and even once it does, you'll find yourself doing the same stuff in the same situation a lot. But bro, look at Morgana's little run! The game throws a lot of little details and gimmicks from Persona 5 to somewhat help differentiate situations, and there are a few other things too, but there's one thing that I think helps the gameplay more than anything, and that's that the Phantom Thieves are fucking wimps. They die very easily, and also don't have that much energy. This doesn't make the game tough, not really, but it does make you put in some effort in planning. You're going to want to learn about your characters, your enemies, affinities, weaknesses, the speed of attacks and combos, and what benefits and advantages you can grant yourself, as the gameplay becomes less about the eye candy, and a little more about resource managing, timing, and staying alive during fights. You know how gameplay is supposed to be like. I promise, it gets good, you just gotta be a little patient with it. Which, I mean, you fucking play Persona 5, I'm assuming you can wait. In conclusion, Persona 5 is really able to strike at what fans really love about the original. Some of the differences may act as deterrents from it, but you may just have a change of heart if you give it enough time. Seriously though, if you're a fan who was kinda on the fence about getting it or not, give it a try. I wasn't even gonna make a video on it, but as I kept going through it, my opinion went from thinking it was kinda average to fine to pretty decent to, wow, I actually really want to talk about this a bit. It's more than a worthy follow-up, and I personally recommend it. Thank you.